On a quiet night in June 1994, Los Angeles would become the scene of one of the most shocking and brutal murders in modern history. 2 lives were taken in cold blood outside a luxurious Brentwood home, and the fallout would change the course of American legal history forever. Nicole Brown Simpson, the ex-wife of NFL superstar O.J. Simpson, and Ron Goldman, a young waiter, had no idea that this night would be their last. What began as an ordinary evening would soon unravel into a nightmare. A double murder so brutal, it left even the most seasoned detectives stunned. Who could have committed such a savage act, and why? These are the questions that would grip the world. But the answers, well, they would come with their own web of controversy and mystery. Nicole Brown Simpson. A mother of 2, she had once lived a life filled with glamour and privilege, married to one of the most famous men in America. But behind the veil of luxury lay a dark secret, one of abuse, fear, and control. After years of turbulence, Nicole divorced O.J., trying to rebuild her life, unaware that her past would soon catch up with her. And then there was Ron Goldman. At 25, he was a kind-hearted, aspiring restaurateur who crossed paths with Nicole only by chance. That fateful night, he was simply returning a pair of sunglasses Nicole's mother had left at the restaurant. Little did he know this innocent gesture would lead him into the hands of a killer. 2 innocent lives, caught in the middle of something far darker than anyone could have imagined. But the real question remains, who could have done this and why? June 12, 1994. Just past midnight, a neighbor walks his dog along a quiet Brentwood street, unaware of the horror waiting just around the corner. What he stumbles upon next would send chills down his spine. 2 bodies lying in pools of blood, brutally slashed and left in the front courtyard of Nicole's home. Nicole was found just steps from her front door, her body savagely attacked. Ron, lying nearby, appeared to have tried to defend himself but was overpowered by the same vicious force. There were no witnesses, no cries for help that were heard. The killer had vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of blood, a single glove, and countless questions. Who could commit such a heinous act and escape without a trace? And that's where the story truly begins, as the investigation turns its sights on one man, a man whose name would become forever linked to this crime. O.J. Simpson, an American hero, football legend, Hollywood star. But behind the fame and the fortune lay a fractured reality, a dark side that would soon come to light. As investigators searched for answers, all eyes quickly turned to one man, the one person who had the strongest ties to Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J. Simpson. But why? How could this celebrated figure be at the center of such a horrific crime? O.J.'s relationship with Nicole had been volatile for years. Reports of domestic violence were well documented. A restraining order had once been filed against him. And yet, after their divorce, O.J. couldn't seem to let go. Was it love turned to obsession? Or something far more sinister? The LAPD zeroed in on Simpson after discovering what appeared to be a chilling series of clues, a trail of blood leading away from the crime scene, and a single leather glove. June 17, 1994. Just days after the murders, something unbelievable unfolded on live television. The country watched in shock as O.J. Simpson, now a suspect in a double murder, was involved in a slow-speed chase that would forever be etched into American history. With millions glued to their screens, O.J., hiding in the back of his white Ford Bronco, led police through the highways of Los Angeles for over 90 minutes. It was a bizarre and surreal scene. A beloved figure fleeing the law in what appeared to be a desperate attempt to escape. But why? What was O.J. running from? Or more importantly, what was he running toward? Simpson would soon be arrested and charged with the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. And yet, the mystery was only beginning, because what came next would be called the trial of the century. With O.J. Simpson now behind bars, the world turned its attention to a courtroom drama that had all the makings of a Hollywood thriller. The evidence seemed stacked against him. Blood on O.J. quote, IS car, his home, and the infamous glove found near the crime scene. But nothing in this trial was simple. What should have been a straightforward case became a war of narratives, with the defense claiming O.J. was framed by a corrupt LAPD. Racial tensions ran high, and the prosecution soon realized they were facing more than just a murder trial. This was a fight for public opinion. Led by the charismatic Johnny Cochran, Simpson's defense team masterfully spun doubt around the evidence. Cochran's unforgettable line, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit," would become the defining moment of the trial, as O.J. dramatically tried on the blood-soaked glove in front of the jury. And just like that, what seemed to be an open and shut case was thrown into chaos. But would it be enough to sway the jury? After months of jaw-dropping testimony, shocking evidence, and media frenzy, the moment of truth had finally arrived. On October 3, 1995, The world held its breath as the jury prepared to deliver the verdict in what had become the most watched trial in American history. Not guilty. 2 words that sent shockwaves across the globe. O.J. Simpson, the man accused of brutally murdering his ex-wife and her friend, was acquitted of all charges. The courtroom erupted in chaos, some in disbelief, others in celebration. The verdict divided a nation. Some saw O.J.'s acquittal as justice, a victory against a corrupt system. Others were convinced the killer had just walked free. How could the evidence be so overwhelming, yet fail to convict? The mystery of the Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman murders only deepened from here. But was justice truly served? Years later, many still question what really happened that night. O.J. would later lose a civil trial, where the jury found him responsible for the deaths and ordered him to pay millions in damages to the victims' families. Yet the criminal case remains one of the most controversial in history. Even with O.J.'s acquittal, countless theories have surfaced, some claiming that another person was involved, others speculating that critical evidence was mishandled or overlooked. To this day, no one else has ever been charged with the crime. And so, the question lingers. Did the system fail? Or is the truth far more complex than we'll ever know? One thing is certain. The events of that night remain shrouded in darkness, a puzzle with pieces missing. And while the case may be closed in the eyes of the law, the mystery lives on. More than 2 decades later, the Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman murders still captivate and haunt the public consciousness. It was a case that brought issues of race, wealth, fame, and justice to the forefront. But at its heart were 2 lives brutally ended, their families left with more questions than answers. For Nicole and Ron, the headlines have faded, but the pain remains. The case reminds us that even in a world driven by media and fame, real lives are lost and real mysteries go unsolved. The truth, it seems, is still out there, and we may never know it. The Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman double murder is just one of many cases where the lines between truth and fiction blur. What do you think happened that night? Was justice served? Or is the real story still waiting to be uncovered? If you're captivated by unsolved mysteries, shocking crimes, and stories that leave you with more questions than answers, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the world's most mysterious cases. Because the truth is always out there, waiting to be uncovered.